What do you think for you is the most important thing that you learned from your parents? Looking back now, what do you think the most important thing, first thing that comes to mind?
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to 5 with T5, where we bring local business owners, community champions, and all-around amazing individuals on to learn about their stories in business in a quick and effective way. My name is Stephen Turnbull, your host with T5 Insurance, and I'm joined by my guest today, Brad Waters. If you're joining us for the first time, we're going to start the clock with 5 rapid-fire questions. We're going to jump right into it, and then we'll learn a little bit about our guest. Brad, you ready?
I think so.
All right. Here we go. Question number 1. This might be the hardest one. Pancakes or waffles?
I'm a pancake guy.
That was quick. That was quick.
Yeah.
That was quick. Pancake guy right away. Didn't even have to think about it.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Tomorrow, you can have dinner with any celebrity. Who would it be and why?
Ryan Reynolds. I mean, amazing actor. Loves sports. Runs sports teams. Hilarious. I mean, he can hold a room, and I think that'd be number 1 on my list.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Getting a little more serious. This is a good question that I saw come across. What do you think for you is the most important thing that you learned from your parents? Looking back now, what do you think the most important thing, first thing that comes to mind?
Be open-minded. Just be, just understand where someone might be coming from. Understand yourself, and just be open-minded. I think there's a lot to learn from just being accepted and understanding things. So I know I elaborated on that. I don't know if that's good on the hot seat here, but just being open-minded was a big lesson.
I love it. I love it. We're moving and grooving, so you got plenty of time here. All right. Question number 4. If you could turn any activity into an Olympic sport, would you have a good chance at winning a gold medal? What would it be?
Oh,
good thing we got time.
Yeah, good thing you kept it in there. Say that one more time.
Activity you can turn into an Olympic sport, and you have a good chance of winning a gold medal. What would it be?
I can dock the hell out of a boat.
Ooh, I like that.
I can, big, small, wind, river, ocean. I've had some experience all above, and I think I could be competitive in that.
I want to get into that because I know why you can be competitive in that. Okay. I want to get into that when we jump into it. So that's question number 5. First thing that comes to mind, last question. Mm-hmm. The best piece of advice you've ever received.
Oof. All right. Hopefully I still got some time on the shot clock.
Oh, plenty of time
I've ever received. I mean, recently, I think it's entertaining. Don't be a dick. Look, you never know when you're going to need to work with somebody or something that might come up. Or, granted, I've probably been harsh a couple times, but it's warranted. But I try to, you just try to get along.
Person.
Just be a good person, because you don't want to cut too many ties, especially when you're trying to do business locally. You have to have your morals and your ethics, of course, but you gotta. I think it kind of goes back to being open-minded to my parents. Mm-hmm. It goes back to that a little bit. I think you try not to make too many enemies.
Yeah, you know what I think of like immediately when you say that is like a cold caller for like a new software or something, and like you're in the middle of a busy day as a business owner. The last thing you want to do is talk to this guy who's trying to sell you the software that you have. But like, put yourself in their shoes. That guy's he's trying to make a living. He's got a family to feed, right? And I think like you're saying, like, just be a good person and understand where people are coming from. And if you reverse, it can make a difference.
I've learned to, I guess this kind of goes hand in hand too, is I try not to make rash decisions in the moment. You get heated. That's just fair. Anything that I'm really fired up about, I try not to respond or do anything. Yeah. I think sitting on something for even if it's a few minutes or an hour or a day, there's some value to that. We all get heated. We all are in the moment, and then eventually we're like, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or apologize. And
right.
I've been trying to. I think that's even a recent growth on my part. I think I try to give a little bit more time, especially being in the industry and always under attack in media and never being right. It definitely thickens your skin over the years, and been doing it a while, so you learn from it.
Well, you survived the hot seat, Brad. You survived the first
all right.
first 5 questions. Let's take
Sure.
10 minutes here for the rest of the show and just learn more about you. Tell us the story of Brad, and then I want to talk about Sentinel and all the amazing things you guys are doing there. But just tell us the story of Brad to where you got to today.
Yeah, so I somehow got to be a 37-year-old owner of a media company, but through that, went to St. John Fisher, RFA, been a Roman most of my life. I alluded to it earlier. I worked on yachts for a little bit. I tried running away from the industry. My dad told me to run away from the industry, but got sucked back in. I have a wonderful wife, Jenna. I got 2 kids, 2 and 4, Bryce and Aiden, and a dog, Oakley. I used to be fully into sports. I think with all the busyness around nowadays, I haven't picked up a bat or a golf club in a long time, but I love sports. I love the water, and I love travel. I'm here in Rome to stay. I really love Rome, and I'm glad I got to travel the world a little bit, but I'm happy to be back in Central New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, few comments there. Number one, Fisher proud. Gotta love that.
Yeah,
we both went to Fisher.
Absolutely,
gotta love that place. The other thing I just want to make a comment before we expand to something else is we've built a better relationship over the last couple of months, I'd say over the last year. And what I love is seeing how you came back to the area and with your business being in Rome and the expansions that you've done, but you're still just so focused and doing so many great things of like, hey, we're going to grow this area. We're doing this here in Rome. We're going to do this. We want to make these connections with Utica, whatever it is. And we've talked about that all the time, but I really just want to say that I appreciate seeing that because that's fantastic. Tell us, how does a guy from Rome, New York go to Fisher and then end up working on yachts? I just love the story, and I want how does that happen? Because you're talking like the below the deck stuff, right? That was some people would relate to, right?
Yeah. I worked on a 150-foot mega yacht. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew my dad was trying to get me to expand and run away from media a little bit and explore. I knew I loved the water, and just doing some research, I came across some yacht jobs and kind of figured out where the hot spots were, and Fort Lauderdale was one of those spots. Tried to figure out what you needed to do to get on one of those mega yachts, which you have to have some basics. So I went down to Fort Lauderdale for 3 months, went to school. I became STCW is every single person has that in yachting. So that means you're a first responder, you're a firefighter, watchkeeping, cold water survival. So that's anytime you step on these big yachts, you have to have that because you're a floating city. Fire comes up, you got to put it out. Medical emergency, you got to do something with it. And obviously survival if you end up in the water. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience. You got basic firefighting and all these cool things that kind of just help you prepare for wildlife as well. Watchkeeping. So I went to school for 3 months. I went dock walking, which means you're just looking for day work. So I went down to a big dock, went to yacht, see if they needed any work done because they're so big. And when they're in port, there's just sometimes they'll hire extra help. So came across a bosun and he said, "Hey, I need some help. We're getting ready to restock the boat. It's been at dry dock, which means it's been on land. We need to put stuff on." And I jumped on there for a couple days. Did 3 days of work there. Then another first mate came up to me after and it was at a bar. And he said, "Hey, we're looking for a green deckhand. We entry level. We take off in a few days. Would you come on board?" I said, "Yep, sure." So I packed up my stuff out of the hotel, awesome. Moved on to the yacht, and 4 days later, I was on a 4-day trip down to St. Martin, and that was our home away from home in the winter months. So I went down to St. Martin for 4 or 5 months, and it was down there. And then when it started to warm back up north, we came back up to Fort Lauderdale. So I worked on a motor yacht called Starship for a while, and once I got back, Dad needed help, and so I kind of was like, all right, I'll pack up and come. I'm a family guy, that's another thing about me, and it's tough living on those yachts. Most of the schedules are 10 to 11 months on, and then you get a month or 2 off, and then you go back. So being a family guy, being in the middle of the water, do I miss it? Absolutely. But I also miss the family aspect. Getting FaceTime calls during the holidays, that's always tough. And anybody that travels can understand that. But
sure,
I highly recommend the industry. I didn't cook. I didn't have to do laundry. Everything was ready on my in my suite every night from the interior crew. The chefs were amazing, and I get to travel. It's a work hard, play hard. Anything you see on Below Deck is mostly real. The fights are real. The high class, just the experience, all that stuff is legit. You're living and working with these people 24/7. Things happen,
Right,
and
right.
So yeah, that was a little more probably than needed, but that it was just
No,
a cool
I just love
experience.
that. And I want to pivot that to like, what's something that really that you took from that experience to now being an owner of a business that you've had some great growth with and some diving into different markets and some adapting in the industry and all that stuff. What is some stuff from that experience that you've taken over to today's Brad?
Exposure was a lot. I got to meet a ton of different people, working with different personalities, working under very stressful situations. I think you think you know everything, and then you get exposed to something more. And overcoming those hurdles was huge because you can't. You got to fight with somebody, then you got to get over it and move on. And I think that kind of toughened me up. That also allowed me to communicate better. So it's not only physical, but it's just a lot of mental strain in that environment. So you just learn to handle yourself. You kind of reflect on some of the situations. You're like, oh wow, I don't mean to do that in that situation. How do I recognize it later? And so
Sure.
when you push yourself in those scenarios, you can learn a lot. And I definitely owe a lot of my communication skills and kind of seeing bigger pictures and working with different personalities. That definitely helped me in a ownership perspective when it comes to brainstorming and problem solving.
So tell us about Sentinel for those who may be living under a rock at this point. And I'll say that though, because from Utica area, and we've talked about this too, a few years ago, you might not have known, right? And what you guys have really done is incredible to change lanes and broaden your stretch and your horizon. But tell us what everything looks like today and some stuff that the listeners should know.
Yeah. So the reason why people didn't really hear of us, we had a really strong border between the Observer Dispatch and the Sentinel. We owned Rome, they owned Utica. The businesses knew that the exposure was that way. But I started noticing that the Utica OD just didn't care about the community as much, and that's as straight up as can be. They didn't have reporters on the ground. They didn't have good customer service. And I was like, all right, team, I think this is our chance to break down that barrier. And so we committed to it. We hired more people. We did a full push with marketing. We switched to the USPS to help us expand where we could deliver. And 2 years later, it's working. We now have more circulation than them. We became the paper of record of Utica and the surrounding areas. I think we're a paper of record of almost 20 cities, towns, villages, schools.
That's awesome.
And actually even more at that point. We just added New Hartford last week. So it's real, and it happened, and it was a good win for my team. And it also was a huge win for independent journalism. I'm a 6th generation owner. We started in 1864, took over in 1864. And so, and we're headquarters. We're not supported by anybody. It's been the Waters family for that. And we care about the community. We understand how important media is for a community, and be the watchdogs of government and school districts and just the town in general. And that's why we knew we had to expand, one, to survive. That's part of the deal. You have to grow, and just understand that. And some people don't get this, is that without us here, how do words get out? How do we call out government if it's not doing its job? And how do we advertise for businesses? And that's really what we're about. We're about community. We're about just enjoying what we've done for 160 years. We have our 160th birthday coming up on June 1st.
That's awesome.
And hope to have some fun with that. We get to being part of the community is huge. I meet people every day. It's so much fun, as you do in your business. It's just fun to have that kind of exposure, and even for students in high school sports and all those clippings, all that matters. And we hope to bring that to a couple more generations.
Yeah, what I love about watching your journey, just in getting to know each other better, is like you really come to a fork in the road with an example like this of two options of, oh, it's too bad, newspapers are going away, people are looking on their phones, or I'm going to do something to solve this problem, and I'm going to offer something to help the consumers, help the area. And hats off to you, as I've said in the past, for just taking that and running with it. It's been super, super cool to watch. Talk about the podcast real quick, and then we'll wrap this up, because that's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. The podcast that you have is doing fantastic, and it's a great example of pivoting.
Yeah, I'm doing this call actually in the podcast room now. I got the mic set up and figured it'd be cool to do it in here. It's just bringing different feels. Everybody consumes information differently. I also think freeform like this allows people to elaborate better. That's why we have a standing monthly update with the mayor of Rome. We hope to expand this as well with, actually I just talked to Tony Pacini last week. He wants to elaborate on some stuff that's going on and his visit to the border. And it allows, there's more than just print and we only have so much space. And in this kind of environment, we get to learn more about the person themselves. Let's throw politics out. Let's see what they like to do and just connect better with somebody. And I think people trust people more when they can get to that kind of level. And also too, let's have a back and forth on some issues. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on that we can't all fit on print and we can't have Q&As, and we hope to open up kind of like this environment too, where people can submit questions to the mayor and he can elaborate on some things. And because of our reach with the Sentinel, it's helped kind of get that word out as well. We distribute 7,000 or almost 8,000 papers now, and then we have over 1 million clicks a month on our website. So with that reach, we want to do something with it. We want to always bring different angles, whether it's audio, video, photos, apps. We have a new app coming up that's going to be launched in May, awesome. And part of it's just catching up. We're a small operation here, so it takes time for us to get that stuff done, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, Brad, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. This was a lot of fun. We're quick and to the point here, 5 with T5. So everyone that's listening, when you want to have a nice longer conversation and learn a lot more, go over to Another Round podcast and make sure to check them out. Sure. Brad, past that, if they were curious about the podcast, more paper, whatever it might be, what's the best way to get plugged in with everything that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so yoursentinel.com is our website. You can call us at 315-337-4000. I have an open door policy if you want to come say hi as well. We really want to open up that two-way street. So email us at news@rnymedia.com or me at bwaters@rnymedia.com. Again, always looking to talk to people, trying to learn, trying to adapt, and trying to morph. So contact us in any way possible. And thanks for the time, Stephen. I really appreciate it.
Love it. Absolutely. Everybody, that's a wrap for today's episode of 5 with T5. Hope you enjoyed this conversation with Brad. Make sure to check him out and everything they got going on. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page, T5 Insurance. Until next time, remember the power of connection and learning from one another is what makes our community thrive. And most importantly, remember to make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. Stephen Turnbull here with T5 Insurance. We'll see you next week. Take care.